Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I'm going to try some nice Scottish whiskey here. This stuff is, how do you spell this? Bruichladdich. That's not how you say that, actually. I believe it's properly pronounced Bruichladdich or Bruichladdich. And this stuff that's in here is the Classic Laddie. This is the good stuff as far as whiskey goes, at least from what I've heard. I've never tried this before, and I'm about to drink it to see if it's going to punch me in the face. Now, anybody who may have stumbled across this video and doesn't want to hear what led up to this purchase, this was actually a gift, come to think of it, just go ahead and fast forward to this timestamp here. I'll get to the actual tasting at this stage. But I wanted to lead up to why I got Bruichladdich, the Classic Laddie, as a gift or requested it. Now, for those who have followed my channel for a while, you know that I really like Blade Runner, and as a result, I got a Blade Runner bottle here with Johnnie Walker Black Label inside. And as you can tell, because I've been working my way toward the bottom of it, I really like Johnnie Walker Black Label. I mean, it's grown on me. The first time I tried it, you may remember, I thought, ooh, it's got a bit of a kick, and I have a feeling this has got a bit of a punch. But Johnnie Walker Black Label is probably the most popular brand and type of whiskey that exists in the world, worldwide. And for good reason. It's very nice. I have actually developed quite a hankering for this. I will say, though, that I've been watching a few reviews of whiskey, one of which Ralphie.com, for example. He describes Johnnie Walker Black Label as very engineered to be enjoyed by everybody. Like that's a bad thing. He even sort of describes it as the Coca-Cola of whiskey brands and distilleries. So I really have an affinity. I've got a very sentimental spot in my heart for Johnnie Walker Black Label. But I have a cousin whose husband is very much into Scotch and whiskey. And anytime I go over there, he wants to give me the good stuff. Now, as per my Johnnie Walker Black Label first testing or tasting, I found it was very rough and I didn't understand. I've been slowly developing an appreciation for whiskey. For example, my dad is very much into the Glens, Glenfiddich, Glenmorangie, and I tried a bottle of that with him. I must confess, I didn't really find it all that enjoyable. I mean, I'm sure it has its fans. But I just found that I wasn't liking Glenmorangie, although you would be surprised because I'm, again, very down the bottle there. But I didn't find I was all that enthused about it. When I tried knocking back a pickleback, I used this stuff, Jameson whiskey. This is actually very nice. Quite enjoy this. So I have started to appreciate what is good and bad in all of these. And then my brother-in-law introduced me to this stuff, Highland Park. This is really nice. I love Highland Park. And I was thinking to myself, okay, so this is the good stuff. This is what I would serve to my cousin's husband if he was ever visiting. This is kind of, where it is at as far as the really nice whiskey that I would feel proud to pour, even though I still really like Johnnie Walker Black Label. However, in watching various reviews and hearing people talk about all the different whiskeys, I did notice some people said Glenmorangie is great for a beginner's whiskey. And I thought, okay, well, I like, I guess, but I don't know if it's considered, since it's considered for beginners, maybe that's a negative against it. And I thought, all right, well, what about Highland Park? It's also one of those ones that people say, yeah, that's a really good one for beginners. And I thought, oh, okay, well, and I guess Jameson, similar. It's a very well-known brand, and we won't go into Johnnie Walker. So then I started looking around. I thought, okay, I'd like to have some of the good stuff in my liquor cabinet in case people like my cousin's husband come by and I want to impress them with a very good Scotch. And that's when I started to look around. What are some really good ones? This stuff just so happens to be the favorite whiskey of Harrison Ford. He was on Jimmy Fallon and he was poured a glass and the two of them shared some jokes. And Harrison Ford said, yeah, I don't know how to say this. I think it's Bruichladdich or something like that. but it's really good, and that's the one that I like. And I thought, well, maybe I'll research that because, again, of the Blade Runner connection. If Harrison Ford agrees or likes it, it's got to be good. The stuff that Jimmy Fallon was pouring for him was not the Classic Laddie. It was actually a 10-year-old, well, I think it was just called Bruichladdich, or the Laddie 2009. Can't remember. And I thought, all right, well, I'll see if I can get myself a bottle of that. I couldn't find any. And in watching reviews of the Classic Laddie, some people have mentioned that because there's so many people drinking whiskeys around the world, some of the distilleries are having a hard time supplying. And the Bruichladdich folks have decided what they're going to do is actually just have the Classic Laddie available until their stocks have kind of rebuilt up. So I don't know if I can actually get the stuff that Harrison Ford was drinking on the show anymore. I've looked around. All I can find is the Classic Laddie. But that's okay, because a channel that I watch quite often on YouTube that reviews lots of whiskeys and has given me some of this insight is the Whiskey Vault. And the two fellas on there really like the Classic Laddie. They think very highly of it, had some interesting things to say about it, which I'm hoping when I try it out is going to come through to me. And secondly, they actually did a sponsored video where they asked their audience, okay, we want to be able to recommend good whiskeys for advanced drinkers, and here's what you all think for the different price tags are some excellent advanced or good whiskeys for advanced drinkers. The Classic Laddie made their list. They said this stuff is really, really good. So I thought, okay, this is, as per my cousin's husband, the good stuff. But what's interesting is Whiskey Vault also said, this is not for amateurs. This is the stuff that you give to somebody who can really appreciate a whiskey. And they even said, it's not going to be your friend. This stuff can really punch you in the face. And that's me. I've never really tried any of the good stuff other than, well, as I say, I like my Johnny Walker, so I must be an amateur. I must not be up to the par of Whiskey Vault and crew. So let's try out the Classic Laddie here, and we'll see just how bad it punches me in the face. It's not going to be my friend. It's going to be a very complex, very rich experience for any proper whiskey drinker. That ain't me, but let's try this out as an experiment. Besides, I'd like to know if this good stuff is actually something I'm going to want to pour for people. So, another indication of how I'm a complete amateur is this, as I do not have a Glencairn glass for drinking out of course, as most whiskey drinkers do. I have a Blade Runner square Chibi Bicchieri glass, and this is not the right design because you want something that will have a fluted top so you can do the nosing properly. But I don't have one because my interest in whiskey is almost exclusively Blade Runner based. So I'm going to set a glass or a plate here just so we can get a little bit of the color in your view there. Let's open up Bruichladdich, the Classic Laddie, and see what it's like. Now, I've never even broken the seal here. Let's get started. Okay, let's try this out. Ooh, it's got a nice pop. Cork smells nice. Again, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be looking or smelling for or anything like that, but let's try some Classic Laddie. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this particular type of whiskey, according to the Whiskey Vault, let's put the cap back on, is this is unpeated. In fact, I think it says so right there. Yeah, unpeated, not Islay. That's actually pronounced Islay, Scotch malt, or a single malt Scotch whiskey. Islay being one of the regions in the, I think, northern area of Scotland, which has a really, really great reputation for making some fantastic scotches. But this stuff, this Classic Laddie, doesn't use any peat. And as a result, it has a very unusual smell and taste to it. The Whiskey Vault guys even described it as like seaweed and brine, which does not sound appealing in any way. It's not colored. In fact, I don't know if it's going to come through in the video. It has quite a light, I mean, there is a color there. I guess that's about right on the screen there. So, I'm very curious. Again, they say this is not going to be my friend, and for people who don't know their whiskey, it's likely going to punch them in the face. And that's me in my square Blade Runner glass. So I'm going to try some out. Cheers. Now I'm giving it a little sniff to begin with, and I don't notice much about it that's any different from the other whiskeys, smell-wise. It has, as they call in, I think, wine circles at least, it has nice legs. It does drip down the glass nicely. Okay, well, I have no idea about the smell, so let's just try a little glass here. Well, it's very nice. It's certainly clearing my sinuses. Now, I know these experts are always defining or describing things like smoke and woodiness and leather seats and that kind of stuff. Oh, okay. Hang on. There's a little... It takes a little while. I kind of get that briny, almost sea saltiness now that it's taken a second. The delivery, I think they call that. Yeah, that is quite nice. As nice as Highland Park, and I know this is going to tick off a lot of experts, but as nice as Johnnie Walker Black Label, in my opinion. But let's try another slip here. You know, I notice a slight element of oiliness to the, as it goes down, to the finish, I suppose. And what's interesting is I'm pretty sure the Whiskey Vault guys, or somebody that I've watched anyway, I've been watching quite a few different whiskey reviewers, mentioned that there is no oil component to this. This is unpeated. So I don't know where I'm getting that from, but it is very smooth. It goes down very, very nicely. Luckily, it has not punched me in the face. I'm very pleased to say that. I think I still kind of like it, or I think I like Highland Park a little bit more. I'd have to do a bit more comparison. This will certainly not go to waste, though. It's a very, very nice scotch. This is something that I will keep around as the good stuff for those experts. I think, though, for myself personally, on like a regular, if I was having people over and I just wanted to enjoy a scotch, I think I'm just going to stick with the Johnnie Walker Black Label. It's a company with a lot of heritage, and of course the Blade Runner connection is very strong for me. But I do like Bruichladdich. It's very good, and as the good stuff, it's not all that expensive either. It's in the same realm as Highland Park and Glenmorangie. So if you'd like to get some, I highly recommend it because it is for kind of the really sophisticated Scotch palate. It's very, very budget conscious, and I'm very pleased to have it. I gotta like that cool looking bottle too. So yeah, there we go. I have had Bruichladdich, the Classic Laddie, Harrison Ford's favorite Scotch, and I'm very pleased that I discovered it. It's nice. It's very nice. All right, well, until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.